What up, everybody? Welcome back to Case Digital. My name is Zach, and in this video we're going to answer the question of how to write an if statement in Python. So without further ado, let's hop right in and start coding. Okay, everybody, so like I mentioned, in this video, we're tackling that question of how can I write an if statement in Python. If you're new to programming in general and you're kind of learning the different ways of how you can write a program, you've probably heard of an if statement and you're kind of curious, well, what is it and how do I write one? Well, essentially, an if statement is a way for you to control the flow of your program. In essence, it's a way for you to essentially say, if this certain condition happens, I want to run this section of code. If otherwise, don't run it. So the best way that we can show this is through an example. And the syntax for an if statement is pretty simple. It's basically if, and then we say some Boolean expression, and then if our Boolean expression is evaluated what we want it to evaluate to, then we say want ran goes here. So this is very simple, the very simple syntax of an if statement. So to show you how this is done, let's go ahead and create some variables. So let's say I have a variable a, and then we're going to set it equal to 5, and b is equal to 7. Now, we're going to take and we're going to just write, say our program is going through, we do some sort of equation, so c is equal to a plus b, and then we'll say we want to only print out c when it's greater than or equal to 10. So how do we do that? That is where if statements become very useful, because what we can do is replace this. We can say if c is greater than or equal to 10, then what I want you to do is I want you to print c. So if we go ahead and run this, you'll see that we get 12 because obviously we know that 5 plus 7 is greater than 10. So what happens if we change b? So say we change b to 5. So we know that 5 plus 5 is 10. So our if statement says if c is greater than or equal to 10, then print it. So if we do that, we should print out 10. But what happens if b is, say, 4? So 5 plus 4 is 9. And if we run this, we get nothing to print out. And that's because that block of code, it goes through and hits that block of code. It checks c, it says 9 is greater than or equal to 10. That's false. And so if it's false, then it's going to not run this piece of code, because what we said is only if it's greater than or equal to 10, which evaluates to true, then do this. And another way that you can do this is basically a lot of times people use if statements with flags. So say I have a flag, say my flag is equal to true, and it's a Boolean value. And this could be some other Boolean expression that you wrap up, like maybe this is a long Boolean expression that you've wrapped up into one little variable, and you can put flag here. So what you can do is you can basically say if c is greater than or equal to 10, like I just said, we could run this, and let's say this is 6. Well, we get 11, and that's because it's greater than 10. So let's see what this is showing you. So flag. So we should print out flag, and it should also print out c. Flag is true, c is 11, so we obviously get c. Well, if this is, say, 1, 2, and we run this, flag is false, and thus we don't see c getting printed out. So if statements, what they'll do is, it's essentially, unless otherwise noted, if you just give it a straight Boolean expression, it will essentially just, if it's true, it'll pass it through and you'll actually run your code. If it's not true, then it will not run that piece of code. But there are ways that you can actually write an if statement to say, hey, if this is false, I actually want to print this. So let's go through that example. Let's say we only want to print the value of c if it is less than 10. So what I can do, or if it's less than or equal to 10, or I guess in this case, let's just do less than. If it's less than 10. So what we can do is we can use the not operator. And what this will do, we can do this two ways actually. We can use the not operator, or we can add another Boolean expression by essentially going, if this flag variable, if it equals to false, then print c. Otherwise, if it's true, then don't. So what we can do here is run this again, and now you'll see that we get the value. Another way to do this is using the not keyword, which is basically saying not like in Python, in other programming languages, if you're familiar with other programming languages, when you're doing Boolean expressions or checking equality, a lot of times, and you can still do it in Python, and a lot of times you'll see this is not equal to, like a is not equal to b, and you can do that in Python as well. Like we could say if flag is not equal to true, then run this, and this will still run. See, it still runs. We get 7. It prints out c. We could also do not flag, which basically the not means If this is true, do the not will be not true will be false, right? So if you put the not in front of it, whatever Boolean expression's here, it'll be the opposite. So if this is basically, this is saying if this is true, then apply not, so that makes it false. So then it won't do this. But if this is false, apply the not, this makes it true, and so that'll evaluate through. So we can do this, and you can see that we still get C being printed. And so that's the essential way that you can go ahead and write an if statement and the different things that you can do. Now, in other videos, we'll talk about how you can add more expressions and all that stuff. But for now, play with this if statement and just see what you do. Maybe write a simple program that does simple math equations, and if certain values arise, then it maybe adds more or subtracts more. Test it out, play with it, and see what you can come up with. But until then, keep on coding and have a good day.